Hey guys, and welcome to the fish room. It's the end of an era. I've been maintaining these aquariums for a super long time, but I'm not particularly attached to either of them anymore. If you're new here, this is the first ever planted aquarium I did years and years and years and years ago. And this is just a little tiny tank. So I think today what we're going to be doing is restructuring what I like to call my nano corner. As things have grown and changed down here, it's an inevitability that sometimes I have to say goodbye to various aquariums in order to make room for new projects. And one of the realities of doing YouTube is that I need to take advantage of opportunities. And so one of the things that I'm trying to do is find meaningful relationships with companies that I respect and have been using for some time. And in order to make it worth their time for them to support me, I need to do some new projects. So it's an exciting thing, but what it means is I have to make some space for some projects. There's some stuff that's going to be coming up in the next few months that I'm really excited about. Right now I'm just packing up sponge filters. For some reason I've let them accumulate in the back of my sink here, so I'm just going to pack them away until I need them. There's no reason they need to sit out. Control some of the chaos over here, make it more streamlined for my shipping efforts. But I thought that today I would talk a little bit about what it means to me to accept sponsorships. I don't and haven't historically accepted any sponsorships, but the reality is in order to maintain this fish room and have my content support my efforts, I need to do a bit more than what I've been doing. So for me, you guys know if you've been watching, I almost never recommend companies or products unless I feel like there's something truly unique about them, and that is not going to change. Nothing about that will ever change. I will never ever use or recommend anything that I don't truly think is in the best interests of this channel, of my own goals, and as a recommendation to you guys. But today we are going to be breaking down the nano corner in order to set up for some future projects. So let's get to work. So this is the first nano we're going to be breaking down. This is the Fluval, I think it's a 2.5 gallon spec. And it's been running for a few years now and is extremely low maintenance. In fact, most of the time I don't even have the light on this aquarium because it's not hooked to my timer. So I have to manually do so. And in this aquarium, you'll see some dragonstone, you'll see my red rilly shrimp, a bunch of subwasser tang, a bunch of Anubias nana, or Anubias bonsai rather, and some bucephalandras. And on this little aquarium, I do very minimal maintenance, maybe 10% every other week, and then topping it off as needed. And it's been a really successful aquarium, but it's not particularly exciting. And the problem with some of these little nanos, especially as small as this one, is you're kind of limited in what you can actually do and what you can actually fit. So I think that upgrading this tank to a more substantial nano, if you will allow me to really show you guys some better example communities or breeding projects or the like. So today we'll pull the plants, pull the hardscape, catch the shrimp, relocate them, and then move on to this aquarium. Now this one houses my wild guppies out of Colombia, and I have found a home for the colony of fish. I sold them to a gentleman in Tennessee. They'll be leaving on Monday. So we'll probably wait to break this one down until then, though I may start pulling plants just so that I can catch the fish. And this tank is kind of bonkers. This is the one that also has the drunk parva carpet. You can see all the way at the bottom here, there's parva growing literally 2 inches under the substrate. And this tank irritates me because this Sagittaria has sort of taken over my Parva carpet. I don't know how the sag got in there. I don't remember adding it. But as you can see, it is almost the full height of the aquarium. Not to mention, this aquarium is just old and dusty and crusty. I've had it for probably 10 years. And, you know, it wasn't an expensive aquarium. You can see when you look at the seams, they're not particularly awesome. It is rimless, but I think that I can put in a much nicer aquarium here, and maybe even do something side by side for you guys to show some comparison and contrast between fish species as well as scapes. Let me know what you think about that down in the comments below. Now, I do have some sponsorships in mind for this project. Who knows if it'll happen. Just because I want to be able to showcase some, what I think are some really nice products for you guys. You know, one of the biggest obstacles of this fish room is that because I have it so streamlined with, you know, a central air pump and uniform lighting for every aquarium, I don't really get to try out many new products, and I really need to do that because you guys ask me a lot of questions about them, and if I haven't used them, how can I give you an opinion? So we're going to learn together on this little adventure. I am going to start by taking some of the water from this aquarium to have to put the shrimp in as I catch them. And I really have no idea how many are in here. We will discover that together. And one of the tricks with catching shrimp is to sort of put the net around them. As you can see, they like to fly backwards, and then they decide they want to be in the net rather than chasing them, which can lead to squishing them. Now, all of these plants are pretty rooted to this dragonstone, but with some gentle tugging, we should be able to get them free. You can see there's some molts flying around. This tank is a good example as well at how your plants can really hide your hardscape over time, and how you need to take that into consideration when you're designing your aquarium. Make sure you examine as well all the nooks and crannies of your hardscape as you're breaking down an aquarium, because shrimp will hide inside things. This is kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and plop this in another aquarium just because it's a large piece. I think it's pretty neat. Here is the container of plants and shrimp. And I'm still waiting for this to clear up a bit to make sure I've gotten all the baby shrimp out of there. But then we get to figure out where we're going to put these dudes, because they're a really nice shrimp. Now, I've moved all of the dragonstone into this aquarium, which is my yellow shrimp. Which, as you can see, this is a pretty huge colony. I've sold about 200 out of them in the past few weeks, and there's still quite a few, but they will definitely appreciate having all of these surfaces to explore and the nooks and crannies to hide in as juveniles or after molting. So this is actually really awesome, and I'm still leaving quite a large space in the front here to be able to catch shrimp out of. This is a 15-gallon aquarium, short side out. As you can see, it has no substrate, and that is so that I can keep things clean, but they will certainly, you can see how excited they are to have all these new surfaces to explore. And while plants are not required for shrimp tanks, nor is decor, they certainly do better when they have it because it's just that many more surfaces to graze on. So this is a win-win as far as I'm concerned. I'm just going to do a quick gravel back. Now when you're vacuuming tanks like this, if you want the substrate to fall out, you just pinch the hose. Now there's nothing wrong with fluval specs. In fact, I think of them as a great little starter kit tank. But there's a few things about them that I just don't love. Number one is they have, back here in the bottom of the aquarium is a suction, and while that doesn't seem like a particularly horrible thing, what it means is that baby shrimp can get sucked into the back of this aquarium, so it's not ideal. It comes with carbon and rings and this big foam block, which I particularly like, the big foam block and the rings. I don't really utilize carbon. So this is a perfectly adequate tank to start with, but it's kind of clunky looking. I'm not a huge fan of the plastic trim. You know, I'm not a huge fan of the slots being way down here for filtration, so I think that I can show you guys some other nano style kits that will be sort of a bit higher end, because if you're only investing in one aquarium or a few small aquariums, you don't necessarily have to go the super affordable route. And one thing about these is that they are super affordable. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the rest of the water and substrate and clean this up and see if I can't find someone to give it to. So it's empty and all cleaned up and ready to move on to a new home. I think I'm going to move the red rillies into here. This tank is kind of a hot mess, and I'm sure that they will enjoy noshing on that super fine filament algae. It's also filtered with sponge filtration, which means the babies won't get sucked into the pump, and hopefully it'll allow them to reproduce quite a bit more than they have been. They're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful strains, so I'd love to make sure that it's perpetuated easier. So one of the things about really tiny aquariums is that they can be a bit self-limiting in shrimp populations. General rule of thumb is about 10 adults per gallon of tank space. Once you go over that, the shrimp tend to stay kind of small. They don't breed as well. So I think that by moving them into this aquarium, which is a 10-gallon, a relative palace in comparison to 2.5 gallon, with sponge filtration, so no pump that could potentially suck in small babies, the increased dilution and grazing surfaces, I'm really hoping that these guys are going to thrive. I'm going to go ahead and add them to the aquarium, and we'll take a look. Now I don't need to do any acclimation because all my aquariums, or at least these aquariums, are kept at basically the same parameters. And immediately upon introduction, they're starting to go to work grazing. Now I do have a buried female, as you see in the middle of the screen there, so I'm hoping that this population's going to boom sooner rather than later with all of this food, all of these surface to graze on, the increased dilution, and getting rid of that pump that could be a threat to them. They really are just gorgeous little shrimp. And we'll check back in on this pretty frequently to see what they do against this algae, as well as to see if they're starting to breed and how they're doing. Now on Monday I'll probably break down this aquarium. It's going to be a bit more work just because of how dense all these plants are and because there's so many fry. But I am excited to free up this entire space. It's almost 5 feet. In order to do some neat new projects for you, expose myself and you guys to some new product lines, and really just, you know, try new things. You guys know that I generally keep things running for their duration, and I really just feel like this aquarium has run its course. In order to get that carpet back under control, I'm going to have to destroy it anyway. You can see as we look, it has a bunch of etching from evaporation. The seams aren't super awesome. And this substrate is years and years and years and years old. So I might as well replace this with a new system to share with you guys. As always, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Do you think I should try and find another spot for this aquarium? Or do you think I should say goodbye? As always, thanks for the continued support and comments from those of you that watch.